Today's quick question is from our boy Dan. If you have plans to raise children, would you do so in Korea or America or both, and why? I think we've talked about what we would do, not at great length, but I think we sort of settled on, I don't know, it might have changed actually since the last time we addressed this.
Well, what was your thought?
I think, well, I know that I said that, and I still stand by this. If we do raise children here, I would want them in international schools.
Okay. But there is a pitfall.
Yeah.
To this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kids who go to international schooling and speak English at home never gain Korean fluency.
Right.
Which will put them on a significant disadvantage living in Korea. And if we end up getting Korean citizenship and it's a boy who will have to go to military. So it's just like, that's something to have to think about. You would not want to send your child who has never spoken Korean fluently at home or in school straight into Korean military, right?
Right. No.
I mean, it happens, but I think if you're able to alleviate that potential difficulty.
Right. But considering that they are U.S. citizens, like, I don't think that requirement would stand with them. So we wouldn't have to worry about that. But I don't know. The reason why I say international school is because I don't know if I would want my children to go through the Korean education system, because it's a whole different world. I'm not saying it's bad. It's actually good. In many ways, especially. But
I think
I just got to be cautious when I say that, you know. But I don't know, because like I feel like if the child stays in Korea and wants to live in Korea and work in Korea, then that's a little different. But if, for example, if we're going to be a little bit more mobile and say, you know what, we'll spend some time here in Korea, then we're going to go somewhere else, then maybe it won't be as important to just go through the Korean school system. Probably be more beneficial to go through international schooling.
What about from a young age, Korean yuchiwon, Korean kindergarten, and then attending Korean elementary school, even up to Korean middle school. Then high school, that's when they would go to international schooling or live abroad.
Actually, I'm feeling that.
Yeah?
I'm feeling that, because then they'll get a foundation of Korean.
And this is where you make those important friendship ties.
That's true.
A lot of times in networking and work, even later on in your life, it's your friends that you met in school that ground you and be like, oh, this is a trustworthy person. They're my 고등학생 친구, right? So it kind of cements those relationships.
Right. I think that could be a good plan. But in terms of raising them in America, like, I would be comfortable, to be honest. Okay, let me answer it from my perspective. I would be comfortable if I wanted to live in America, considering that you wanted to as well. I would be comfortable raising my kids there, depending on the area, because obviously I'm more familiar with it. I'm familiar with how the school system is. But, you know, in Korea, because I don't have that experience, it's, you know, I'd be a little bit more nervous. So I think the question is, are we going to stay in Korea for the long term or not? Because that'll obviously determine what we do. And so we might stay in Korea. I mean, we do plan on staying long term, but we also want to be flexible enough to pick up and go. Maybe move back to America, or maybe move somewhere else for a bit. That would require a certain amount of financial freedom to be able to do that.
I don't foresee a permanent move anywhere else at the moment. Myself. Don't look sad. Do you look sad?
She has spoken. No. Okay. As you can see, obviously.
We have talked about this.
Yeah,
this is not like the first
but
time.
I mean, I think it sort of changes, and I'd be interested to actually see, like, in a year's time or in 2 years' time, what we would want, you know, for us and for our future family. Like, because I feel like when we answered this question a couple of months ago, or like sometime last year, we had a little bit more of a definitive, like, this is what I think we would want to do. But I think it might be changing. And I think obviously the pandemic is like a big factor now with everything that's going on in the world. So I don't know. So Dan, I mean, I don't know if we answered your question,
Dan,
but we tried. And we still have a lot to talk about.
I think that now, like, the hope is that we'll be able to make a kind of life either financially speaking or just work, so that the borders of Korea, America, other countries, whatever, is a little bit more porous. And so you're able to take the ability to study here or study there, to learn here, to live here for a while, and you wouldn't feel completely alienated in one or the other when you're going back and forth. That would be, honestly, it would be very fortunate if we had kids to be able to raise them in that way.
Of course. And I'm totally not against that, because I think that would be such a unique experience for them culturally, and they would see life so much, like, I think way more open than I did. I had to learn, and I'm still learning how to be open with how I see life. But that would be cool, because there is this will be the last thing I'll say, but there's a couple that I follow on YouTube, and they retired early. They're in their 40s, and they have like 2 girls that are like teenagers, younger teenagers. And they're Americans, but they picked up and moved to Portugal, and they're living in Portugal. Girls are going to school there, and it's just been, for them, it's been efficient, and like in terms of raising the kids, and it's been helpful. So yeah, I think, I would be open to something like that too.
So Dan, ask this question again next year.